All right. Hey, everyone. How's it going? I am Katelyn Rigle. I am from Defense Contract Audit Agency. I am the Small Business Liaison. And today we are going to go over the presentation that we provided to you guys at Gold Coast. So before we get started, I wanted to take a poll here for everybody trickling in. We're going to give probably another minute or so for everyone to trickle in. I see the numbers going up as I'm talking. So once that number holds steady, we will continue. And I think we're good to go. So, all right, before we get kick-started here, I want to take a poll. And the poll is if you were at Navy Gold Coast, hit yes on the poll that's popping up right now. Did you attend Gold Coast last month? Yes or no? And Amber from the Navy OSBP is going to provide those results. So, what presentation we provided at Gold Coast, we did accounting system requirements and breaking into GovCon. And the big crux is going over cost type contract awards. I know the Navy is big on the SBIR Sitter program, so we're going to actually talk a lot about that today with the SBIR Sitter program. We received a lot of questions ahead of the presentation. I'm sorry, ahead of today's webinar, and it looks like a lot of these questions, and let me pull them back up, have to do not necessarily with DCAA. So just a kind reminder is that DCAA, provides audit services. We're not necessarily the go-to when it comes to providing guidance on the mentor protege program, how to do business with DoD or DLA. We provide audit and financial services to federal agencies, such as Navy, Army, Air Force, and all of the agencies that fall under those. The Department of Defense. So, with those questions, your best bet is to check out your local Apex Accelerator. They are a phenomenal resource for small businesses. But today we're going to go over what types of audits you can expect under the SBIR Sitter program. And Amber, do we have a response on the polls yet?
Yes, we do. So 93% of the folks here today did not attend Gold Coast.
All right. So yeah, let's go over the presentation then, and we'll talk about it. So let me share my screen. Thanks for joining us, guys. This is such an important topic because there's so much, as you can see, as we'll get into, I should say, so much untapped potential for small businesses under this program. So I'm really happy to share this information. Can somebody just confirm if I am indeed sharing my screen?
We can see your screen. Yep, you're good to go.
All right, let's rock and roll. So, objectives today, we're going to provide an overview of the SBIR Sitter program. We're going to define DCAA's role along with the Small Business Administration. We're going to outline the audits that are applicable under that program and communicate ways small businesses can prepare for audits conducted by DCAA. So, under the SBIR Sitter program, it is a highly competitive program. Give me a second here to get caught up here. So just like any other outsourced federal requirement, SBIR and sitters are federally funded, meaning the money comes from taxpayer dollars. Funding is congressionally mandated, requiring every federal agency that has external research and development budget over $100 million to allocate 0.45% to 3.2% of their budget to these programs. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you see the numbers we're working with, it ends up being pretty significant. The SBIR Sitter programs have been extended and reauthorized several times since their initial enactment. Most recently, Congress extended the authority of existing pilot programs and created a new pilot program within the SBIR Sitter program, among other activities, as a part of the 2019 NDAA, or National Defense Authorization Act. Important takeaway here, over 5,000 new awards each year. A lot of opportunities for small businesses. So what does this look like? So SBIR Sitter programs are highly competitive programs that encourage domestic small businesses to engage in federal research and development for the potential for commercialization. Through this competitive awards program, SBIR Sitters enable small businesses to explore their technological potential and provide the incentive to profit its commercialization. So as far as Sitter goes, the SBTT or Sitter program expands funding opportunities in the federal innovation arena. Central to the program is the expansion of the public-private sector partnership to include joint venture opportunities between small businesses and nonprofit research institutions. So again, great opportunity to partnership with research colleges and universities and other nonprofit institutions. The unique feature to the Sitter program is the requirement for small businesses to formally collaborate with the research institution in phase 1 and phase 2. And Sitter's most important role is to bridge the gap between the performance of basic science and commercialization, resulting in innovation. So differences between SBIR and Sitter. SBIR permits partnering. However, with Sitter programs, right, the technology transfer, it has to be with a nonprofit institution. So you may subcontract work under the SBIR program, with phase 1 being up to 33% and phase 2 being up to 50%. And vice versa for Sitter. For small businesses, the work has to be performed by the small business. 40% of that work has to be performed by the small business, and then 30% needs to be a research institution partner. As far as program size goes for SBIR Sitter, for SBIR for 2019, you're looking at $3.28 billion, billion with a B. Under the Sitter program for 2019, $453 million. So as you can see, crazy money we're talking about here. The mission of the SBIR Sitter is to support scientific excellence and technological innovation through the investment of federal research funds in critical American priorities to build a strong national economy. The program's goals are to stimulate technological innovation, meet federal research and development needs, foster and encourage participation in innovation and entrepreneurship by women and or socially or economically disadvantaged owned businesses, and increase private sector commercialization of innovations derived from the federal research and development. So what makes a contractor eligible to be considered under this program? You guys have to be a small business based in the United States. Work must be performed in the United States. You must be organized for profit, have 500 or less employees, including affiliates, and be sure to register on SAM grants, ERA Commons, and SBA. If you need help with that, check out, again, your local Apex accelerators. They can help you get registered if you are not already. And again, for the Sitter Extras, partnered with that nonprofit and research institution. Now, this is a high-level example of SBIR phases. So under phase 1, it's typically most of them are about $150,000, and they are of a firm fixed price contract award. As far as DCAA is concerned, we are not necessarily concerned with that type of dollar value. You can see a proposal audit under a fixed price award proposal. You're not hitting DCAA radar until about that $10 million threshold for fixed price. So not going to see much oversight from DCAA here. However, going into phase 2 of this program, you'll see a threshold of about $1 million award under phase 2. And that's typically a cost type contract award or cost reimbursable award. This is where you are going to see some DCAA oversight in the form of pre-award accounting system, incurred costs, you need to have provisional billing rates. We're going to get into all of that in the next few slides, but just know that phase 2 is really the kickoff of when you can expect to engage with us here at DCAA. And then phase 3 is that commercialization. So participating agencies, let's look at where the money is, guys, because that's what we're really concerned about as a small business. Department of Defense, you're looking at $1.8 billion coming from contracts under the DoD. What do we have here? A close second. Health and Human Services, $1.15 billion in grants. DOE awards in the form of grants. National Science Foundation, NASA awards and contracts at $183 million. So, the writing's on the wall when it comes to all of this untapped potential from small businesses. So let's start looking into this program if your company offers services related to R&D. SBA, and we definitely get confused a lot with SBA, especially my program here at DCAA. So SBA, Small Business Administration, serves as the coordinating agency for this program. They provide oversight and guidance for the SBIR program. They survey and monitor agencies. They report to Congress annually. They develop and they provide policy and program guidance. And they are responsible for all of the data, including gathering, analysis, and reporting and managing SBIR.gov. And again, that's the platform that you can be looking at these opportunities. They definitely assess small businesses and their services they provide as far as research and development, and try to find opportunities that fit with your business. 2023 policy directive highlights. This is what, if I'm not mistaken, so at least annually, each agency must issue a program solicitation that sets forth a substantial number of research and development topics, and areas consistent with the stated agency needs or missions. Agencies may decide to issue joint solicitations if they see fit. Both the list of the topics and the descriptions and the subtopics may be sufficiently comprehensive to provide a wide range of opportunities for small businesses to participate in this program. So again, the 2023 policy directive, this act requires the issuance of SBIR Phase 1 program solicitations in accordance with a master schedule, coordinated again with the SBA and the SBIR agency that's participating. As to go back, these, for example, these agencies here that are participating in the program. I'm pointing to my screen like you can see what I'm looking at. Sometimes I'm used to giving these in person and I forget that you guys can't see what I'm pointing to. So what is the role of DCAA in all this? Where do we fit? Historically, we have not actually audited any sort of contracts or proposals under this program. It was exempt from FAR 52-215-2 audit and records negotiations. Since then, they are not exempt, and DCAA now has the right to examine and audit all of the contractor's records, including computations and projections related to the performance of the contract, subcontract, or modification of the contract. So that's what really triggered this, and that was in April of 2023. So this is kind of new to DCAA as far as being involved in this program. So, like I said before, there are a wide variety of potential audits that you can see under this program. You're looking at pre or post-award audits, pricing proposals, requests for specific cost information, provisional billing rates, and incurred costs. Now, at the Gold Coast event, Alyssa, my colleague here on the line, presented accounting system requirements, and that's probably the very first audit that you are going to be involved with DCAA, because prior to performing on these cost type contract awards, you need to have an adequate accounting system. So we perform pre-award accounting system audits to identify if the contractor's accounting system is suitably designed for the award of the cost type of award. This audit does not incorporate testing of the system operation. So we do not perform transaction testing. We opine on the design of the accounting system. But during post-award accounting system audits, it's again after the cost type contract is awarded, and we do perform testing there, transaction testing we call it, or detailed testing. Includes tests of the operational capability of your accounting system as well as your billing process. Now, pre and post-award is very similar in that the first half of our post-award audit, we're kind of rechecking what we looked at as far as the design goes in the pre-award, but we're doing testing along the way to solidify and opine not only on the design now, but that operational capability for the DFARS criteria that we performed in our audit. Yeah, and again, detailed testing of your billing system as well to make sure you're accumulating those costs accurately under cost type contracts and that your billing is accurate, so there's of less risk to the government. Now, what defines an acceptable accounting system? And you can find that criteria DFARS. Within DFARS, DFARS is the defense supplement to the Federal Acquisition Regulation, and it's under DFARS 252, 246, 7006. And I'm going to read this verbatim. I hate reading from slides, but just trust me on this one. Accounting system means the contractor system or systems for accounting methods, procedures, and controls established to gather, record, classify, analyze, summarize, interpret, and present accurate and timely financial data for reporting and compliance with the applicable laws and regulations and management decisions, and may include a subsystem for specific areas such as direct or other direct costs, compensation, billing, labor, and general information technology. Now, Katie, what are we talking about here? And the reason I wanted to go over that gather, record, classify, analyze, summarize, interpret, everybody designs their accounting system differently. And I know Alyssa can probably attest to this, is that when you are designing your accounting system, whether you provide goods or services, you're going to classify your direct costs differently. You may have a whole slew of indirect costs that are just different from other companies. So it's important that, that if you need to look for examples, you can look for examples, but don't copy and paste another company's policies and procedures. If you're looking for an accounting system right now and somebody says, oh, I am selling a software system and it's DCAA compliant, run, because there's no such thing as a DCAA compliant system. QuickBooks is okay. I've personally performed audits where QuickBooks passes or is considered adequate. I've performed audits where we find non-compliances and, we have to issue, what is called deficiencies. It all depends, again, on the design of the system. So that's what I really wanted to drive home. And I hope you take that with a grain of salt next time you are looking for software for your accounting system. So again, the accounting system audit itself evaluates the design of the accounting system. I don't know how many more times I can say that. DCAA or the buying command will request contractors to complete what is called our accounting system checklist. And you can find that on our website under checklist and tools. And then the contractor should be prepared to demonstrate how their accounting system satisfies SF or Standard Form 1408 criteria during our initial meeting. I believe you will get a copy of this presentation, and it looks like we already have the checklist and the SF 1408 ready for you guys, locked and loaded in this presentation. I see a few items in the chat here. So let's, Marilyn, so who helps you set up your accounting system to meet the criteria? We use QuickBooks but have not yet worked on a federal contract. That's a great question. And thanks, Alyssa, for throwing that in the chat, the direct link to the checklist.
No problem. Sure thing.
Thank you. So back to the question of who helps. You have to look at the criteria and see how you can design your accounting system to meet that criteria. There are accounting or small business consultants that can help you with that. Apex accelerators can help you with that. I believe the SBA can also help you with that. So,
and just to, sorry, this is
locally.
Alyssa here. I was just going to jump in
ahead.
and add on that a little bit, but the checklists and tools that we're talking about, and that I have the link here too on the website, you'll see it breaks down the SF 1408 criteria into each separate line item. It'll have spots where you can describe how your system complies with each criteria. So this is like a great thing to go through and walk through it on your own with your system. And if you can describe how your system meets that criteria, then you should be able to do okay in a pre-award.
Right. It is all about being able to describe. Using that checklist and that criteria that Alyssa just said, you need to answer. So you need to answer yes and why. You know, my accounting system can segregate direct versus indirect, and here's why. If you answer no, you're probably not ready for an audit. So just be able to answer yes and provide that substantiating little paragraph as to why. Great question, though. Thank you for that. All right, let's get back to it. Post-award contractor accounting system compliance requirements. So, as identified in FAR 42302, the ACO is delegated to determine the adequacy of a contractor's accounting system. An ACO or a contracting officer does often, if they can't do it, if they can't establish reliance, they will reach out to DCAA to perform a pre or post award accounting system. We keep talking about the criteria. Again, it's under DFARS 252, 242, 7006, subparagraph C. That is where you see, again, the requirements are all listed out. I think there's 16 of them. Direct versus indirect, your timekeeping system, your invoices have to have current and cumulative amounts. So check out that listing of that 16 items within that criteria. All areas identified in pre-award phase are included in the business system criteria requirements of an accounting system, as well as the 4 additional criteria. And that is the sound internal control environment, accounting framework, organizational structure, reconciliation of subsidiary job cost ledgers, and cost objectives to the ledger, general ledger, approval and documentation of adjusting entries, and management reviews or internal audits of your system to ensure compliance. We want to see that you have policies and procedures and that you're following your own policies and procedures. Really, really important. And that there is management oversight. Again, so important to have oversight over adjusting entries within your accounting system. That is where, there becomes a significant risk to the government as far as mischarging or misallocation of contract costs. Pricing proposals is a potential audit that you may see with DCAA. Thresholds are here. So for fixed price proposals, anything exceeding $10 million or more for firm fixed price. For cost reimbursable proposal packages, anything over $100 million, you are looking at a potential audit from DCAA. And so these thresholds are not necessarily black and white. There are shades of gray. Some examples could be if you have a firm fixed price proposal at $7 million, and the contracting officer doesn't necessarily have the warm and fuzzies when it comes to what you proposed. If they have any second guess or they're just not feeling solid going into negotiations, they could reach out to DCAA for some assistance. So just keep that in mind as well. These are not set black and white examples. There are shades of gray. Request for readily available data. And this is for contracting officers. If they just need to do a quick verification, if, pricing proposals, packages, they don't necessarily meet those thresholds and they're doing their own analysis, they could reach out to DCAA. If we have any data on files, such as provisional billing rates, actual rates, actual labor rates, any sort of actual or billed costs on file. And we'll always reach out to you, the contractor, to ask permission to provide that information to contracting officers for their analysis. Again, we're just trying to be transparent and provide any information we can to assist contracting officers in negotiations or contract closeout or anything that they need. They are essentially buying commands, federal agencies, DCMA, they're essentially our customer when it comes to this information and providing this type of information. Provisional billing rates. So once you have a cost type contract awarded, you need to provide or submit at least monthly invoices to the government for that cost type award. With that, you need to provide provisional billing rates for your indirect rates. If you have fringe, overhead, general and administrative, or G&A awards, indirect rates, these would be classified under provisional billing rates and what you budget or expect them to be for your fiscal year. Again, proposed by the contractor, you guys at the beginning of the year, used for interim billing purposes until final rates are reached at the end of your fiscal year. And established using information resulting from recent reviews, previous rate audits, or experience. Again, your budget, your operating budget, should be a nice basis for that. You should never use approved provisional billing rates for proposal purposes. That's not what they're intended for. They're intended for billing. And that's the whole crux of this slide, is provisional billing versus forward pricing information when it comes to indirect rates. Forward pricing rates are proposed by the contractor and approved by DCMA for purposes of proposing contractor effort on a consistent basis, generally for the larger contractors. They are established by DCMA using FPRA, or a forward pricing rate agreement, or a forward pricing rate recommendation. DCAA audit reports can be used for the basis of FPRAs or FPRRs. All rates identified in proposals are forward pricing rates, and each proposal should be evaluated separately for forward pricing, as any awarded future effort has the possibility of significantly impacting your indirect rates. So for example, if you're proposing something at the beginning of the year and you kind of have this budget or this outlook for contract awards coming up for the fiscal year, maybe you don't necessarily get those awards, it's going to significantly impact your rate structure. So that should be constantly changing and evolving as you go through your fiscal year. Incur cost audits. Again, these are only required, an incur cost submission is only required when you have cost type awards. So cost plus fixed fee, even T&Ms, they're considered a cost reimbursable type of award and require an incur cost submission. If selected for audit for an incur cost audit, the objective is to examine contractors' cost representations to determine whether it's three things, and that is allowable, allocable, and reasonable, and that is per the federal acquisition regulation. So, that is the criteria that we use during our audits. Also in accordance with GAAP, CAS, if applicable, not necessarily applicable here for small businesses, but cost accounting standards do kick in once you lose your small business certification and your business grows. And depending on cost type awards, depending on the value of your contract awards, that's when CAS kicks in. So incur cost audits, as far as audit requirements, you are required to maintain records on supporting documentation to demonstrate the allowability and allocability of costs. Also keep in mind the burden of proof is on contractors, prime contractors, to show how you established fair and reasonable pricing. I always use the hammer, right? So I wouldn't necessarily pay $500 for a hammer. I would most likely go down to Home Depot and pay $60 off the shelf. So why am I paying $500? Why is the government paying $500 for a hammer? It's all about showing how you establish that fair and reasonable cost. And if you have to, if something is extremely expensive, have to justify it. Due dates and submissions for incur cost submissions, you're talking about an incur cost submission or a proposal being due within 6 months after completion of your fiscal year. So if your fiscal year ends December 31st, your incur cost proposal or submission needs to be into DCAA by June 30th. And again, only if you're working on cost reimbursable type awards. If you need help or need an example, the incurred cost or the electronically or the ICE model is also available on our website, and it breaks down all of the schedules from your summary schedule to your G&A and your overhead schedules. I highly recommend looking at the model and the spreadsheet and how it's put together. It definitely helped me when I first started here at DCAA. Understand the breakdown of overhead and G&A rates when it comes to that cost, job cost accounting. So how can a small business prepare for an audit? Be prepared to demonstrate, again, how your accounting system meets the SF 1408 criteria, maintain your records and your supporting documentation. It's really about crossing your T's and dotting your I's. And I want to also recommend policies and procedures. At the beginning of any audit, DCAA will request your policies and procedures for whatever subject matter we're auditing, whether it's your accounting system, your how you put pricing proposals together, your estimating system, and your incurred costs, right? So all of that information should be documented with policies and procedures. DCAA needs, because every contractor is different. DCAA needs to be able to understand the ins and outs of your system, the internal controls of your system. So having that documented really gives us a leg up on potential risk to the government, where we might need to increase our testing, where we can probably decrease our testing based on what we evaluate with your policies and procedures. So definitely recommend policies and procedures. Alyssa, do you have any other recommendations or anything you've seen in the field when it comes to how small businesses can prepare for an audit?
I think you pretty much covered it, but yeah, maintaining your records and supporting documentation, become familiar with those allowable and unallowable costs outlined in FAR 31205, and be ready to, segregate those in your incurred cost submission. And then if, there's some cost areas that are allowable with certain circumstances and unallowable with others. So really be prepared to support those if you're claiming a portion as allowable or segregating any as unallowable. And have good record keeping policies and procedures, because the main thing that I've found, now that we're caught up on incurred costs audits, it's not so much of an issue, but before we were finding a lot of contractors that just lost or misplaced records or couldn't find support when asked for it, and that puts everybody in a tough spot, because we don't want to have to disclaim, but then we don't want to have to write you up for noncompliance either. So if just proper housekeeping is the best way to go about it. And in FAR 4.7 it does break out the amount of time that you need to maintain those records for as well. So yeah.
Awesome.
And I was going to add for that link, it was on the couple slides ago, but there is that link. I'll put it in the chat as well. But if you do go to our website, there's also, in addition to the template, there's a demo that you can download, which is, I think, really helpful. And it has a completed example of an ICE model.
Yes, right. And I still refer to that from time to time.
Yeah,
it's just so useful. So yeah, coming from auditors, right from the source, check that out. Alyssa was talking about our website. It is a plethora of information on here. Audit process overview, I call it my little DCAA Bible. It's information for contractors. It's 105-page PDF document, somewhere around there. If you hit Control F, you can look up accounting systems. You can look up SF 1408. You can look up overhead. It's really a great starting point and offers additional resources on, because I'm sure Alyssa can attest, once you click on one thing, you kind of go down a black hole of resources and information from go here, okay, then go here, and then go to FAR, and then go to DFARS, and then check out DCAA CAM. So it's all kind of spread out as far as different types of resources, but it really does paint a big picture when you step back there. Directory of Audit Programs. DCAA likes to be transparent, contrary to popular belief. You can find what we're going to do in real time. So anything from our risk assessment to the field work, detailed testing, depending on the audit that we're doing. Maybe there's some confusion on a report that we've asked for from your system, and you're not really sure what we're doing, right? Say, what step in the audit process is this? I just want to understand where you're coming from. And hopefully contractors and DCAA can get on the same page as to what we're asking for when we ask for it. And again, the checklist and tools are down there. Contractor submission portal and the ICE model, all on our website. The QR code should take you right there. You are welcome for putting a QR code in there in the year 2024, because they were not there before. Small business outreach survey. This lets Alyssa and our boss, know how we're doing. So the good, the bad, the ugly. Let us know. Let us know if you want to hear any additional detail, what really matters to you guys. If you liked us, if you hated us, let us know. But it does go to our boss, so be kind. This is my information. I'm going to keep this up while Alyssa and I kind of talk and freestyle. But Alyssa, during the Navy Gold Coast event, and I say we as in DCAA, but it was really you that presented accounting system requirements and breaking into GovCon, which really goes over that cost type award again. So can you tell us how that went at Gold Coast, and maybe if you received any questions during those presentations, what that looked like?
Yeah, I think both presentations went well. We seem to get, positive feedback and questions. And the main question that I always get is, how do we get a DCAA approved accounting system? Which, as you kind of touched upon earlier, there's really no such thing as a DCAA approved accounting system. We do go in and audit, at the request of the contracting officer, that pre-award accounting system and determine if it's designed appropriately in accordance with DFARS, as Katelyn went over earlier. So the best way to prepare really is to go, as we talked about earlier, make sure that you can fill out that checklist and describe how your system complies with each area, or if it's not applicable, that's okay too. But as Katie mentioned, we wouldn't want to see a no there. That indicates that you probably aren't ready. So if you can go in and describe how your system meets each of those criteria, all we're really going to be doing during that pre-award accounting system audit is going in and doing observations and asking you to show us in your policies and procedures where it says that this is what your system does. So yeah, that was the main question really that we got throughout the presentations.
All right, awesome. Yeah, that's the most common question that we see. So I know you said, I think there were about 75 people in your breakout session, and then a lot of people coming up during the exhibition portion of that event. So we know that there's definitely a need for clarity when it comes to audits from DCAA, what to expect, and kind of hopefully demystifying this whole process. So, we have reoccurring webinars with Apex accelerators. I think we're locked and loaded here for Department of Navy OSBP for fiscal year 2025. So keep a lookout on LinkedIn for those events popping up. I know Amber and Destiny are kind enough to share that frequently on LinkedIn, because we're going to be going over much more drilled down topics. So indirect rates, accounting system, like a breakdown of that accounting system checklist, incur cost submissions and how to put them together, kind of getting into that nitty gritty details. So definitely looking forward to that for the upcoming government fiscal year 2025. But that's all the information I have. I'm standing by for any questions.
Caitlin, we do actually have a question in the Q&A. I can go ahead and read it for you. It's, can a contractor use Excel for timekeeping?
So the answer is maybe. Depends on the internal controls around it. So who is accessing the Excel timesheets? How is, because only the employee should have access to their timesheets, right? How is that locked from other employees? You can have a paper timesheet. I mean, we still see that from time to time, but it's all in how it is handled and the controls around it. Alyssa, do you want to add anything?
I was pretty much going to say the same. There are the DFARS criteria that if you go to the DFARS accounting system clause, you'll see the requirements needed for those timekeeping, and it stems around that proper control. So, is there control over who can access the timesheets? Is there a proper approval process? Because just like with the hard copy, we do still see those from time to time, but you need to limit, employees shouldn't have access to blank timesheet copies. So it would be the same in Excel. Do you have a way to control that so that people don't just have seemingly access to blank timesheets?
That and changing timesheets, right? You could easily go in to a shared Excel file. We have the files shared here on Teams, so somebody can easily go into my log and change numbers, and I would never know, right? So that's definitely a red flag or an alarm. So again, all in how you design it and have controls, like Alyssa said, around that.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Do we have another one?
Yeah.
Oh, what is the best way for small businesses to engage with DCA if they encounter issues during the audit process? So yeah, I mean, do you want to go ahead? If
No,
it's
Alyssa,
during
you
the
can go
audit
ahead.
process, you would likely have an auditor point of contact or, FAO that you would be, have regular contact with. They'd be reaching out to you for entrance conferences, walkthroughs, questions throughout the audit. So that would be your best way to ask questions or get in touch with DCAA during the audit process. And then we do have a locator tool on our webpage too. I can copy that in if you don't know your DCAA office yet.
Yes. So if you don't have a cage code just yet, get registered for one on SAM. So you can enter either your cage code or your zip code, and it should pull up the office and the email address. Back to during the audit process, if you're having an issue with the auditor, I have had instances of that. You can reach out to me and I can find who is the supervisory auditor. If there's like a genuine issue or concern that you have, we can elevate it. So you can reach out to me. You can find your office locator, like Alyssa said, and that typically goes to the branch manager. So there are ways, should you have any significant or alarming issues, that you can reach out and get that elevated.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. We're here for any other questions. Alyssa, did you attend any other breakout sessions, presentations, or anything? Or do you want to give us an overview
No,
of
I didn't really get a
Gold
chance to
Coast?
attend. We were manning the booth most of the time.
Okay.
But so, yeah,
It looked
unfortunately.
impressive.
But
We have a
yeah, it was,
question.
yep.
Sorry, Alyssa.
No, go ahead.
Great question from John Sullivan. Are there any new DCAA initiative aimed at making the audit process more streamlined or transparent for small businesses? So again, transparency comes with the audit program that is available on our website. We're doing a lot with AI and predictive technology, believe it or not, and that is from our CDAO division. I should have slides by the end of the day today regarding their process, what they do, and what that looks like for audits of accounting system and incurred costs submissions. So stay tuned for future webinars with Navy OSBP. And I'll be able to share those slides then, but we're in the process of updating. I would love to share that information with you. Maybe Alyssa can, but when it comes to AI and predictive technology and trending, that kind of goes over my head, just to be transparent from my capabilities. Alyssa, do you have anything to add with that?
No, same for me. I think that, I just leave all that to our CDAO.
Yeah, they're the experts on that.
They're the
So,
technological savvy experts.
yep,
So.
that's where I put my hands up and I say, not my wheelhouse. Definitely stay tuned for that, because I do have information forthcoming for GFY on GFY 25 on that. Eric Ellis, I'm going to copy and paste my contact information into the chat. This is, I'm in and out of webinars like this almost every day, so definitely email is best. But give me a shout out if you have any questions. Maybe you need to let this information marinate a little bit and then follow up with a question, and I'm okay with that too. Thank you, Eric. All right, well, that's all I have for today. So always a pleasure with Amber and Destiny. Alyssa, thank you so much for joining. I wanted to have Alyssa here for since she attended the Gold Coast and could speak to her experience there and the presentations that we provided with the accounting system. So thank you so much for everyone's time today.